Hi, I'm Dana Opelman. This video is for my free sleep course for babies 7 to 12 months right here on YouTube. If you could use more guidance, then check out Sleep Sense Plus. The link is in the description below. Good morning, welcome back. I hope you saw some pretty impressive improvements last night. If you didn't, again, not to worry, maybe tonight's your night. Moving into today's naps. I want to move the age group up a little bit here. Let's go into the 10 to 11 to 12 month mark. 10-month-olds to 12-month-olds can tolerate about 3.5, possibly 4 hours of time awake before they're going to need sleep again. So plan your day accordingly. Again, keeping an eye on her and keeping an eye on your clock, and put her down every 3.5 hours of time awake. That's a great place to start. And if you need to, you can add a little bit more gently to see if that helps out. Either get her to sleep a little quicker or keep her asleep a little longer. So yesterday we were talking about chronic short naps. That's so common in this first week, but I want to give you a couple of ways in which you can handle it. Now, the first thing is, if you've had a baby who has been sort of a habitual catnapper, this is going to be a longer process for you because their body is really good at getting what it needs out of short periods of time. It's kind of like hurrying into the good bits of our sleep so that we can recover enough and have those short little naps. So that tends to take a little longer to weed itself out. But if the child is waking up too soon, and what's too soon? Well, anything less than 45 minutes, and even 45 minutes, that's essentially one sleep cycle for a baby. Their cycles are much shorter than ours. Adults, we cycle through about every 90 minutes to 120 is pretty average. For a baby, it's anywhere from 35 minutes to 45 minutes. So that is why it is so common to get only a 45-minute nap. So she came to the end of that cycle, has a little bit of a wake up. If she's not 100% great at her own skills yet, this can be a tricky spot. She'll wake up, usually cry, and not really know how to get back to sleep, but have had enough sleep that she's not really fatigued enough to go to sleep properly at this point. So it does become a tricky spot. So there's a couple of things you can do. And whichever strategy you start with really depends on your sensitivity to crying. If you are only waiting a minute in the night for your baby when she wakes, then I'm going to suggest you go in quickly. Excuse me. When you hear her wake up from that nap, go in quickly, sit down in your chair, do your key phrase, do your careful touch. You can try rubbing her forehead or patting her bottom or giving the mattress a little bit of a shake to see if you can coax her back into another cycle. Feels a little bit like bending rules here. I know, because I've told you that that's a big no-no on the initial put down. But here, if you need to help a little, I would way rather we preserve the nap, get her into another cycle. If we can coax her body to learn how to get from one cycle into the next, we won't have to keep doing this. So it's absolutely worth a try. Stay for about 10 to 20 minutes and see if she goes back down. If after 20 minutes, so she is not having it, just not going back to sleep, then go ahead and get her up and proceed with your day. You might notice that she doesn't have the stamina to make it another, 3.5 hours. You might need to bump that up more like 3 and try again for the next nap. The good news is that naps get longer naturally with time, but we can do a little bit of push to see if we can help. Try that for 3 days. Even if it works once, that's great. That's excellent. We're going to keep going with that strategy. If it didn't work at all in those first 3 days, then you might try the next strategy, which would be to wait. For those of you who are okay with a little bit of waiting, try waiting 10 minutes before you do anything. And set your kitchen timer, because 1 minute of crying can feel like 10 pretty quick. So set the timer, and don't panic if it's pretty intense crying. Sometimes they cry for 9.5 minutes, and then 9 and 31 minutes, they're asleep. It just kind of comes from out of nowhere. So don't jump in too soon if your baby's doing some pretty intense crying. Now, if after 10 minutes though she's still going, you go in and resume your spot in the chair and see if you can get her to go back to sleep with a little bit of gentle touch, shaking the mattress gently, maybe saying your key phrase. Try for another 10 minutes. But again, if 20 minutes has gone by and this child has not returned to sleep, chances are high she's not going to, because she's had that cat nap and it's not happening. So go ahead, get her up, proceed with your day. Again, might need to adjust a little bit. We can always move bedtime earlier if needed to kind of compensate for these short naps. Good news being, this is going to get a whole lot better in next week. But for now, let's try these few little strategies. All right, we're going into night 4 tonight. This is a bit of a transition night. I want you to take that chair that's been right by the crib and move it to the middle of the room. And even if the room's really tiny and it's not really a very big move, we're still going to move, even if it's only 6 inches, to the middle and stay there. You can still walk over on occasion and do a little bit of careful touch. If you're still having to assist your child down, if they get to standing and get a little stuck there, we can still offer that help with laying down. But I want you to try to stay in the chair in the middle. If you feel nervous about that, it probably means you're doing a little bit too much touch. I get it. It works. It helps, right? It's that sort of rhythmical patting is helping your baby settle down and possibly drift into stage 1 of sleep. But we need to back up on that because, again, we do not want to interfere in her strategies. We don't want to incorporate ourselves in this in any way, shape, or form. So do your best tonight to stay in that chair and just use your key phrase to let her know you're close by, and that is night 4. Good luck tonight. See you tomorrow.